Joe McCauley dominated round one, but a very wet Brands Hatch in the UK could be the equalizer. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Jesse Lee, as always, and joined by Les Stevenson and Stewie, of course, on the pictures tonight. And wow, what a wet race! What a contrast to race number one. Les, you should be used to this weather, I would think.
Yes, and thank you, Jesse, and welcome everyone to a rather moist Brands Hatch. But yes, we are used to the wet weather, and no exception on this race.
Well, I will say that in practice this week, it was quite a bit more wet than it is here. I'm being told that some of the other splits we have tonight, it might be a little bit more wet than here. This would be a light drizzle. This wouldn't even bother a British gentleman on his normal day. This is a bit of a shower, is all.
Yeah, it's certainly not as damp as I thought it might be, but yes, also in the practice service, you're going to be getting not as many cars, so it's certainly going to look a bit wetter, but it's certainly not as wet as predicted.
We don't know what's going to happen when the day clicks over to qualifying, but for right now, it's not too bad. Joe McCauley has got his number 18 Porsche into a 28.5, so a mid 28 in this weather is really nice. Deepers in the 47 has done a good job chasing him in the 48 sixes, of course, and some of the other cars that you wouldn't expect to be struggling have found a difficult task here in the early going here in the practice session. Practice is one thing, qualifying is another, and then, of course, on top of all that, the race is a completely different animal. 10 minutes of qualifying, Les. It's going to be a shootout, essentially, for the qualify for pole position. 10 minutes, not a lot of time to make mistakes. The only silver lining, you're at a really fast track. You can get a lot of laps done.
Certainly can, and staying out there on those tyres rather than thinking a new set of boots will do the trick is probably going to be better than what I just said. But already it's looking like it's turning into damp conditions. I mean, I'm wondering what the times are going to come down to, maybe even into the 26s, Jesse.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it could be on the cards. You just never can be quite sure what you're going to get. It's mixed conditions. It was a lot wetter earlier in this session. It was a lot wetter in practice or in pre-practice, if you will. Don't know what's going to happen when the clock ticks over. It could be a torrential downpour, or it could be very light rain, or it might not be raining at all. There have been spots where the track has been mostly dry throughout the week. So we'll just have to wait and find out with the rest of them. Final 30 minutes of practice. The big story coming out of week one, the absolute dominance by Joe McCauley. Can anybody chase him down? It's going to be a tall task in any track, in any weather. Of course, he wields that Porsche like a finely tuned samurai sword. Everybody else is just trying to keep up. Could today be the day that he blows this championship wide open, only after 2 rounds, mind
you. With these conditions, I mean, anything can happen, can't it? I mean, with it being so slippy out there, it's the slightest inch off the track, it could change everything, flip it around.
Certainly could do. McCauley, of course, hasn't set a quicker lap for the past 15 or so minutes. It's been there. 28.527, not for lack of trying. They're actually one of the final cars out on the track right now. I think it's just Jack and McCauley, the only two that have not retired. Always going to get this lap in. See if this final practice lap is quicker. It doesn't look like it is. Oh, no, it is. Absolutely wrong. It was. A 28.512 was minutely better, but who knows? That might be the difference between sitting on pole, being in the second row here. It's a very interesting racetrack to qualify at, where qualifying is usually separated by 100ths, not tenths.
Believe that there. I mean, it's looking like the Porsche is looking good here as well as the McLaren. But yeah, it's going to be close. You really see these guys are going to struggle with these conditions. But yeah, it's going to be good. It's good.
Well, 10 minutes of qualifying, 1 p.m. The rain remains light here, but the track is completely soaked. It is put up or shut up time. 23 plus cars. Not entirely sure how many we have tonight. We have at least 23. More than likely, more than that. Robin Baugh, first car out on the track. The Daneland Wang Esports car, the 888 Aston, takes to the track first and leads a procession of cars, some 15 of them, as I just believe I saw the 18 go off in turn 3 and reset. So an inauspicious start for the 18 there.
Pushing it a bit too hard on the cold tyres. I doubt it with the man of his experience, but yeah, a bit unusual. Let's hope he can get out quick, because the more laps they get down, the better the track conditions will get, and the times will just fall.
Well, they certainly will, and it's going to be a war of attrition. The tracks went from wet to damp in just about a lap. That tells you how light it is raining. This could be a case, and I feel like I've said this a lot in recent weeks. This could be a case where the last car out on the track has the best chance of setting the quickest lap. I don't think it's going to move off from damp. I don't think we're going to get to greasy or anything like that, but doesn't have to. It can improve despite the track condition. Not saying it's improving. There are corrections that do occur, and 20 plus cars, I reckon they'll just about get that done in 10 minutes or so. Either way, I feel like Robin Baugh could have set our first benchmark lap here. Looks steady as she goes in the Triple A.
It's let's see what they can put down, but I've got a feeling it's going to be quite far off what will end up being the final times. But yeah, it's nice to get out at first and get that banker lap in. Make sure we can we've got something to go off, and at the very least, you know, you've got at least one lap in. It's so easy to invalidate a lap around here at the best of times, let alone in these wet conditions.
It is very easy to do so, and so far, Robin Baugh, as far as my eye can tell, has done a really good job. I think that's a fair assessment. I don't think Baugh is going to be the one to set the benchmark here for a couple of reasons. Number one, being told the lap was invalidated. I didn't see where that lap was invalidated. I looked away for a split second, but there you go. Robin Baugh will have to go again. Does that mean Savalainen will set the first time? They will. That's a 29.182. That's a bit off the pace, but good enough so far. Deepers in second place. Allen third now. Basaglio in fourth, and Levchenko, what sorts itself out. I think that's Labus there that came in. And Jorgensen now top three. 118 now second place, but Juna Savalainen, probably the beacon of hope. If anybody hopes to stop Joe McCauley, has done so far, nearly halfway into the session. 29.182. Just don't think that's good enough.
I don't think so either, Jesse. And there's a lot of names that still haven't put in time down yet, but don't be surprised to see that order change very quickly.
Savalainen currently with the fastest lap. This man, Joe McCauley, has already had a little bit of a moment in turn number 3. They had to reset to pit lane. That is why they haven't had a valid lap yet. This should be valid. Oh, a big slide there. Big moment for the Porsche, but will it still be quick enough? What lap are we looking for from the number 18 hashtag blame Mike Jones car? And rather expectedly, a 28.752 for Joe McCauley goes top of the board.
A cracking banker lap, to be honest, and no real surprise, even with that big tank slapper there towards the end of the lap.
Well, we went from going off in Graham Hill Bend to setting a stonking lap, but Savalainen's fighting back. Where is this pace been? A 28.557 for Juna Savalainen sets the new benchmark, nearly 2/10 quicker than Joe McCauley. The 118 goes fourth place. Deeper's holding on to third. And I believe we just saw Savalainen go off into Druids, abandoning that lap. They'll likely get some fresh tires, make an adjustment maybe, get back out there and try to defend this pole position. This would be an early upset for Joe McCauley, who looks so quick in practice here, all practice long. So Savalainen leads McCauley, Deepers, and Gary Fullen are your top four. But Joe McCauley, he's a coming.
He looks like he's on a good one here. I'll be surprised if it's going to be ended in just this next lap. I suspect we're going to be looking at probably in the 27s before we know it. The track's just getting better and better, and the temperatures are good. So let's see. Oh, and there we go, 28-1.
Oh boy, the track is definitely improving in a big way. Vicious in third place currently, 6/10 off of the time that Joe McCauley just set. Morgan McCall, the ATK driver in the 540, looking to set a time here. Hasn't had luck doing so just yet, but I feel like this is going to be that's going to jump him up all the way into the top 12, 29.340 for the South African driver. Look at this. I think we had 23 plus cars. We only have 30 plus cars. Sam Smeets has just joined in and is leaving the pit lane. There's Jordan Daly, who earlier was a little bit more confident, I would say, in talking to me, that it wasn't as wet as it otherwise would have been, but still fighting that 197.
Just looking down the order there to see Jordan down the bottom, and I know he hasn't set a time just yet, but I was quite surprised that he hasn't managed to get a lap in. But yeah, I'll be amazed if he can't tame the Bentley around here. I reckon he'll probably be somewhere in that top 15.
Ooh, absolutely on the ragged edge, trying to work that car around the course. And oh, a bit of a slide there. It just shows you how treacherous it is. I don't know about you, Les. I almost prefer full dry or full wet. This intermediate where it's damp is probably the most dangerous track in Europe.
Exactly the same as you, Jesse. For me, I'm not a massive fan of driving in the wet, but I'd much prefer it to be full-on wet rather than it just be that damp or greasy conditions. It's just so much trickier. And there's Jordan putting up to 29th, but yeah, I think those times will come down for him. He's we know what Jordan Daly can do.
Yeah, Jordan is not a 29th place driver anyway you slice it. I think it just speaks more to the conditions than anything else. Morgan McCall takes his 540 ATK AMG up inside the top 10, good enough for 8th place, and he is going to get, he's going to get 2 more laps. I did the math there, as you might expect, folks at home. 2 more laps for Morgan McCall. He's climbing up the ladder, and he's more than half of the way there. Daniele Giacomelli goes P11 with that lap. His lap by the number 6 Aston.
Let's go second there as well, just over 2/10 off McCauley's time, and not really a surprise for me. I've mentioned his name before, but yeah, no, it's good to see him up there. Let's see what Savalainen can do. He's a little bit off at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if he can pull one out at the end here.
Francis Caracas doing exactly what I expected to see out of the 19 AMG. Second there. 1/4 of a second off of McCauley. For Gozman in third. Savalainen down to fourth. And Deepers has nearly fallen outside the top 10. But not anymore. Felix Deepers all the way to P2. Just about a 10th and a half off of Joe McCauley, who's in pit lane, mind you. Goes time, a 28.110, absolutely flying, but Joe has called it quits. They will not get another lap in here, as everybody else that's coming to the line now will. Is the track improving? Is there enough grip out there to improve? Can anybody challenge the 18?
I mean, it's a quick time. I just assumed it would be a little bit quicker than that, but no, fair play. He's obviously thought that that's the maximum you can get out of it tonight. But yeah, there's still a few out there still be able to maybe pip him.
Final seconds of qualifying. Can Savalainen, who spent so much of this session near the top of the sheet, now no longer inside the top 5? Any improvement would be welcome, but needs 4/10 to get up into the pole position. He won't do that, but he will get up inside the top 5. Can anyone below him bump him? Deepers is done. And no improvement for the 47 McLaren. The top two in the pit lane, Savalainen in fifth, Borgosman in the 240 McLaren. Can they make a move to get on the front row here? They need 3 tenths to take the pole position, but they need only about a half a tenth to take third, and only about a full tenth or so to take second place.
Yeah, and it's would be interesting to see where the number 19 is as well, and let's see what they can do around the final corner here.
It was looking good, but I think Borgosman may have made a mistake there, and it will cost them. Is it still an improvement, though, is the question, and the answer is yes. That moves them up one full spot. That was nearly good enough for second place, but Borgosman third in quali here. I'm telling you, that lap, though, had they not made the bobble, that would have been good enough for, at minimum, second place. Caracas comes across and takes fourth place. That is qualifying done for round two. Joe McCauley on pole with Deepers rounding out the front row. Borgosman and Caracas, Savalainen, Juke Novicius, Jack Soldatov, Jerry Fullen, Doranson. Your top 10. The rest of the results of qualifying rolling by your screen. Three purple sectors by three different drivers. Rain is the great equalizer after all. Does look very good for a promising competitive race here.
Yes, and already looking like it's going to be changeable conditions during the race, so it's really going to sort of shake things up, I think. And but yeah, good is a great pole there from Joe, and it's yeah, being able to put it up so quick as well, and then be sat in the pits to watch the final part was must have been a nice feeling.
It's always nice whenever you can take it to the house before the session is over. Well, we've only had one race thus far, so basically the championship standings you're seeing are the results of the first round. Joe McCauley did everything right. Fastest lap, pole position, and the win. And that is a maximum 72 points, max point stay for the Scottish driver in the 18. Savalainen with 58 in second place. Radis Caracas in third with 53 points. Jutnavicius fourth, and Deepers rounding out your top five. For Gozman, McCall, that's Morgan McCall, of course. Dario Barzaghi, Robin Bond, Konstantin Soldatov, your top 10. Of course, very early days in the champ, very close. Second page here, Vasily Anafreev with 25 points. Joshua Allen on 23. Jorgensen, 21. It gets very close the further we go back. Of course, Thomas Jack, Nico Kuzma, the top 15. Payne, Minno Krozen, Levchenko, Justice, and Calandrino, the top 20. Of course, the further we get back, it's only 1 point for each position. You'll see that continue here. The bottom half here. Giacomelli, Daly, Borland, Minar, Losaglio, Abbas, Sean, Sam Smeets, Billen, of course, Barber, the top 30. I believe we've got some more behind this that these drivers do not have any points thus far. Looking to rectify that here today. Well, Les, qualifying was very entertaining, as it always is. And being as this is your first time with me on the Friday Champ, I get to do to you what I've done to so many other of my commentators. I'm going to put you on the spot. Can anybody beat that purple and yellow Porsche?
I think at the moment there's a couple. There's a couple that could be there, Jesse. I'm confident with the with Caracas. And Caracas is I've mentioned before is definitely someone who's caught my eye, and I'm wondering if in these conditions maybe you can pip him to the line at the end there.
Of course, they have a pit stop to do. It is very possible that they can be beaten. And just, well, if we knew what the outcome of the race was, we wouldn't have to run the race. The reason we race is to confirm the outcome, of course. And my next question, Les, can Eunice Savalainen do anything from his starting spot to challenge not only Macaulay, but maybe win this race.
Yeah, there's every chance, of course there is, and he's certainly got the pace. Let's just see what we can, see what happens. I'm convinced the weather's going to throw a spanner in the works, shall we say? And like you said, with the mandatory pit stop, it could might be people wait and wait and wait, and possibly to the last minute to pit before maybe having to change tyres. You don't know.
And finally, the final question, of course. Oh my goodness, our broadcaster Stewie loves the Kermit car. I have no idea why, but loves that Kermit car specifically. But that's of course none of my business. Les Stevenson, my question to you is: how far back can you start in this race and have a realistic chance of winning?
Oh, you can never say never. It's such a small and tight, windy track. It's difficult to overtake in the dry, let alone in the wet. However, the wet does bring opportunities. Mistakes happen far more frequent than they would do in the dry, and yeah, you can't say it's not possible. Starting from the back and maybe winning it, but it's I would say you've got to be in the top 10 really to be able to stand a chance of being on the podium, and I'd say probably top 5 to be able to contend for the win.
And of course, the wet weather, we talk about it being the great equalizer. It does equalize pace because there's only so much you can get out of a wet racetrack. Also, too, it invites mistakes. Mistakes happen more frequently in the wet when traction is low. We've certainly got that here today. What do you think the over under is for cars that are going to visit a sand trap or a wall here today? I'm going to say about 10 cars.
Yeah, I think it's probably not going to be far off that. Um, it's it. I think with the length of the race there is more than going to be probably more than 10, should I say?
I'm going to go with a solid 10. Les Stevenson has said he's going for 10 plus. Everybody
10,
get your cards out.
10 plus. Yeah, that's me.
Absolutely. I wish I would have said something else now. I think you've got me on that one. I think you might be right, actually. But of course, we're not wishing any ill will. It's just the weather conditions do invite that sort of thing. And, well, you can't forget where we are. It's a temple of speed. It is Brands Hatch.
Yeah, and there's so many undulating corners, and it's up and down, and yeah, it's going to invite people wider, and maybe even people trying to find a quicker line in the wet, and that's when mistakes can happen when they're searching for that faster line.
All eyes on Joe McCauley. It is so easy here into Paddock Hill and through Pilgrims and of course Druids to get stuck side by side, and that all that does is invite challenge as you go through Graham Hill and Surtees. So very important for Joe McCauley to get clear into Paddock Hill for turn one. I've seen it go wrong for many top qualifier at this racetrack. It is so easy to get stuck side by side battling somebody, and of course that's not only true for the leaders, that's true for everybody. What you will likely see is a procession of cars entire way around lap one. Hawthorne, Dell, Sterling, just the name. The middle section of corners here, it is likely to happen. Don't be surprised whenever we have a surprise leader of the race too, if that were to happen. Job one, get a clean turn one for Joe McCauley. McCauley and Deepers on the front row. Can Deepers do anything to reel in Joe? Maybe get a nice run around the outside, maybe make it happen. Everybody, we hope that you're dry and warm wherever you are, because here on the RCI Friday Champ, it is very much the opposite of those things. 18 degrees C on the track, 14 in the air, as the green flag and the lights are about to come on for the second time.
Green light, give it all you can.
this season. Waiting for the flagman. There it is. The flag is down, and Joe McCauley gets an excellent start. Deepers immediately looks to close off the other McLaren. It hasn't happened. Contact between Savalainen in the background, and it's an absolutely magical start for Joe McCauley. Oh, contact as they head into Druids now. Several cars, 3 wide, 1 car sideways, and they all get through it aside from a couple of fender benders. But that could have been even worse.
Amazed that they all got down the hill there without much contact, and then it all happened in turn 2 there.
What an incredible start it was from Joe McCauley, who has gapped the entire field as they fought over second place. Beavers had to defend their position. I don't know what car that was that got up the inside into Druids and caused that calamity, but they were definitely several sideways cars. That will be some level of damage to all of those involved, but realistically, in these conditions, minimal damage as they all sort themselves out. Let's take a look at the start of the race here. Till Jordan, oh no, so this is getting into Paddock Hill.
Wow, I got that wrong then.
Well,
I thought they all made it through. Yeah, I thought they all made it through.
Well, oh, a car off there as well. Didn't catch the number of that machine. You're going to see that a lot today, a car just spearing off onto the dirt. Not a modern circuit, Brands Hatch. There's a lot of things to crash into quite near to the track. Also, that was the Bentley. Ooh, extra contact, the 118 Bentley, who went up the inside, was a little bit too late on the binders. That's Morris Gary Fullen. Ooh, just...
Martin, yeah.
Excuse me, the 118 Aston. Excuse me, not Bentley.
Yeah, he just got on the brakes and probably on the curb, I think, more than the grass. And yeah, just you can't afford to brake on the curbs in these conditions. It just ended up going straight on, and unfortunately, he ended up being the bowling ball in the Skittles.
Absolute calamity there for a lot of cars involved. We rejoin the race. This is Dario Barzaghi looking back at, well, several cars really. That's Konstantin Soldatov in the 991 Bentley. He's got the 330 behind him just a little ways. For the moment, Barzaghi has been able to get away in the Team Ballas Esports car.
Well, we're going to have a procession, like you said, Jesse, and hopefully they can all close up and maybe make a move, an opportunist move. Looking like Jordan Day's got the fastest lap at the moment. Let's see what times we're getting down to now.
Zook here trying to do the best that they can. Max Payne, the 966, has completed their required pit stop. Now, I wonder if that was very much on purpose for Max Payne. You have to come in, you have to spend, I think it's 25 seconds stationary in your box. Tires are not required. And I believe that's what Max Payne meant to do. Get out of the melee. Could prove a very smart and decisive move, as there's contact here between Joshua Allen and I believe that's Woodward Dillon in the 183. But if you look at all that, we're looking at all the battles, you also have to look at the weather prediction as well. The rain will become lighter in 30 minutes. It doesn't have to stop raining, Les, for the track to start to dry out. That might be the case here.
It's already looking like there's a start of a dry line appearing with the amount of cars on the track. Oh, yeah, bit of a bumper banging session there going on.
That is not exactly what you want to see, but the fact that all the cars are still on the racetrack, that is rarefied air right there. And Stewie, who just mentioned in our ear that he was surprised that nobody crashed there. So am I, quite frankly. That was bumper cars central. All the cars still pointing the right way and on the racetrack.
It's a shock to most, and I'm just wondering if the Bentley's really seems to be struggling at the moment. But just going back to the the Audi has pitted early, and you're saying about the 25 seconds. So with it, got to make that choice. Would you want to wait another 5 seconds maybe to change the tyres, get a fresh set of boots on, ready for the what looks like it's going to be dry conditions later on, rather than sitting there and letting your tyres go cold?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. It is a decision. The whole point of the 25-second mandatory stop is to make the drivers think, is it worth taking an extra 5 to put the tires on the car? I don't think for Max Payne that was a consideration they had made, but will that work for them? Will that come back to bite them? Doesn't say it's going to stop raining, mind you, but it is going to start to wane a bit here halfway through this race. And if the track is only barely staying damp, is it possible that a dry line forms? Absolutely. The question is, how dry will it be?
Knowing the track and these type of conditions I've had before myself, it's such a short track, a lot of cars on track. It's going to dry quicker and quicker. It's going to get to that point, even with the very small amount of rain that is falling. It's going to end up being probably quite a dry track.
Oh, a move here. Gary Fullen trying around the outside of Druids. It's not unprecedented. You can make that move if you're far enough along, but not on this occasion. Of course, has to fall back in line behind Savalainen. Savalainen got shuffled back on that start. Remember, they started inside the top 5. They're 6th now. Morgan McCall in the 540, the ATK car, the last car inside the top 5. Deepers down to 4th, of course, from 2nd place. Got shuffled out. Borgosman now 2nd place in the 240 McLaren. Radis Caracas 3rd. And all of those cars are still very close. Joe McCauley has not ran away from this field so far.
Just looking at myself, I'm just over a second. Not really managed to pull a massive gap out. It could be part of his tactic, you don't know. But yeah, I was a bit of a shock. I was expecting him to be really clear of the field by now.
I mean, he fired off like he was going to go play hide and seek, but he just hasn't been able to pull the gap.
Maybe it's trying to keep the tyres in check for later on, or who knows, but yeah, a little bit of a surprise.
Well, Grossman trying to run down Joe McCauley, Savalainen trying to run away from Gary Fullen, and more cars have come to pit lane. And as far as my eye can tell, none of them are from an accident or damage. This just seems to be their strategy. Wet race, hit early and gain time. Completely sideways there through Paddock Hill was the number 10 of Dario Barzaghi that time, but well held in very tricky conditions. Continuing to try and fend off Konstantin Soldatov, who is right behind him. Barzaghi is trying to fend off Soldatov, is trying to get by the 46 himself. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. If he makes a attempt to pass the 46 and doesn't do so, he's probably going to get passed by Soldatov behind.
I just wonder if it's maybe even worth thinking about pitting for Barzaghi. You know, he's right there in the middle, a sandwich of cars, and it might be worth thinking about maybe making that pit stop now, try and get a bit of clean air, and hopefully by the undercut.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I think it's a strategy you would have, especially if you're in the middle of the pack here and you hit now and everything pans out. It could end up working out for a nice top 10. They're all still very close. Speaking of close, Juna Vicious in 8th place and Jack racing each other. Very close off the final turn. And, of course, getting that spot now.
It's a great move around the outside. Yeah, it's a great move around the outside. And, you know, in these conditions with these tyres, at times it's better to...
Jack!
Yes, I was just saying about maybe searching for a bit of a grip off the dry line, or the drier line, shall we say.
Thomas Jack very aggressive here, trying to get by Jorgensen, and now Robin Baugh looking to equal that opportunity, going up the inside. This is where you get stuck side by side, and no dice there. Outside prevails for Thomas Jack, as now that, like there was a pass going on. Was that Allen working on ball? I think it might have been. Dario Barzaghi's caught back up to 46. And Soldatov right there. And I believe, I was trying to figure out, that's the 330 in the background. And it is. They're all still in a line here. They had fanned out a lap ago, but they've all come back together now.
It's certainly looking like Barzaghi's certainly got the pace at the moment over the car in front. I'm just wondering if it is, he thinks he can get past before maybe even the option of pitting, but I don't know if he's going to leave it too much longer. It might be worth going for that early pit.
I would like to say something else as Thomas Jack's going to be on the outside for Paddock Hill, and that is not usually where you want to be, but you can get it to work if you can hang it out, but not on this occasion, off into the dirt, just like so many others. Will surrender that position. Jorgensen will defend that spot. A little bit of contact here now between Jack and another car, and have a lot of little contacts like that, Brands Hatch.
Robbins Racing, Jesse. Robbins Racing.
I knew I liked you for a reason.
Yeah, there's no harm in that. It's it's conditions. That's what we say. Robbins Racing.
Well, the stewards probably won't mind too much because, of course, we do have live stewarding for Fridays, as we always do. And we thank them for their contribution. It's been quiet in the steward shed for the first 10 or 12 minutes, but I just looked over into the steward's box and noticed that they are frighteningly busy. They have papers flying everywhere, so they are definitely looking at all of those early race contacts.
Looks like we've had a change for position here with Caracas going up into second place. Obviously got past Bogorsman somewhere we've not quite seen.
Well, the 16 of Thomas Jack is off. And he didn't make it to Surtees. I'll wonder what happened to him. I don't need a replay to be able to tell you what happened to him. He hit the curb or spun off before Surtees. It's a common move. And the race has gone away from Thomas Jack as Soldatov, Konstantin Soldatov, that is, and Minnow Crozen have decided now is the right time to pit.
Wondering if that's now more than 10, Jesse. Is that more than 10 now off to the gravel?
Oh my goodness, you're asking me. I can barely count to 5. I was really rather hoping that you could help me count. It is a lot. Speaking of offs, I'm told that Max Payne has had a major off. Remember, they were the first one on pit lane. I thought it was a brilliant strategic move. Well, we'll never know what would have happened, as I'm told that car, Max Payne car, has retired.
Oh dear, that's the shame to hear and see, and I just wonder if he unable to get those tyres to warm up after the pits if he didn't take new ones.
It's an interesting situation where if you do, it is desperately difficult to get wet tires back up to temperature. And even if you don't take tires, just sitting in the pit lane can change it drastically. And I wonder if maybe that's what happened to them. Dario Barzaghi is just all over the back of Basaglio here for 14th place, looking for any which way that the Porsche can get around the BMW, but no dice thus far.
It's a shame he hasn't been able to get past yet, but just wonder how much time he's losing behind.
Savalainen with a move there on McCall. Look at this. Oh, looks like Morgan just misses the apex a little bit. Savalainen says, well, I'll have that. Thank you very much. No contact. Clean move around Druids. Savalainen got his top 5 back.
Way to do it, as they say. Yeah, no, great move. It's nice to see there's no contact as well.
Well, a lovely move there. And of course, you got to have a little cooperation. Morgan could have made that a little bit more difficult on Savalainen had he chose to. Elected not to, and instead replaced with just beautiful racing in mixed conditions you love to see.
Yes, you've got to have trust in the people you race with, and clearly they did their total respect, and great move.
Well, Barzaghi's looking to make a move of his own on Basaglio. but yet to happen as we ride on the rear wing of Basaglio, looking back at Barzaghi, also the 330, and that's also Martin Lawrence, and that's also Calandrino, all in this shot. You make a move, it doesn't come off, you are going to go to the back of this line.
Yeah, and Bazagi's just got to wait for either that mistake or the opportunist move, and I just wonder how long it's going to take before someone, their temper maybe, and tries a too much of an opportunist move and ends up being a bit of contact.
Looking down into the inside of Druids, nothing doing this time but forced wide. Basaglio looking in the mirror, perhaps contact or just loose. You, the judge, finding their way back in line is Barzaghi, as the 330 nearly had the Martin Lawrence is looking, but not too fussed about the whole thing. And as that brought somebody else into this fray, I don't know if that's a lapped car or not, but certainly looks like there is a additional Porsche on the back of this. Could that be Climbs? It could be. Live timing updated. They haven't hit the sector line yet, but that's all it takes to bring somebody back into the fray. Barzaghi holding on to this car. Basaglio looks to be more planted, but there looks for speed in the Porsche, though, and I think that's what's keeping this fight interesting.
Porsche's got such good traction out the corners by the looks of it, and I mean notoriously it does anyway, but I'm wondering how much Basaglio is mirror driving. Too much of the look in the mirrors and blocking. He looks like he's blocking quite hard.
As a driver, I can tell you this firsthand. The worst thing you could ever let me know on the racetrack is that I'm in your head, because at that point I own you, and that's not, you don't want that. You don't want Jesse Lee in your head. You don't want that. And that little move running wide, that's all it would take for me to start playing the mind games.
Mind games are a massive part of racing, as much as anything else. But yeah, it's, you know, you've got to be pretty ambidextrous to be able to drive in your mirrors and forwards.
I'm going to admit something live that I've never really admitted before. You know how the mirrors reversed? I went to block a car once on the wrong side, and it appeared like I just let them through. And I told them, yeah, I just let you through because you were quicker. Because left is right, right is left. It's Willy Wonka's chocolate factory in the mirror. Okay, Les, leave me alone.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first.
He got in my head. What do you want? Barzaghi trying to live in the rearview mirror of Basaglio here and doing a great job of that. Off in the background, I believe that was Calandrino's Aston, the number 12, but little worry there as they're able to get back on the track. A lot of good driving. You would expect, if there's a lot of tracks, Les, where they will hook the outside curb or the wet grass and they'll just spin. And you would expect at a fast track like Brands that would be the case, but it just doesn't seem like it is.
I think a lot of the curbs, it depends on the profile of the curb, depends on how much painted surface of the curb it actually is, and whether it's serrated and so on and so on. It depends on whether that's going to make you spin or not, I suppose.
Well, the 330 now looking to make a move of their own on Calandrino. A moment ago that Calandrino had a bit of a moment. It does slow you down running off the track. Just because you don't spin doesn't mean anything, and it does still slow you down, and that's what's happened to Calandrino. Is Justice trying to make that move, and oh dear, a penalty that we expected to see, certainly after the Druids incident, has been handed down, and it's a stiff one. It's going to be a stop and go 10 for car 118. We're taking out the 991 and causing contact with the 16 and the 38 because it was lap one and because it was multiple cars influenced by the accident. It is not a drive-through penalty. It is a stop and go 10.
Yeah, that's a tough one to take. But then again, I'm sure they saw that one coming.
We also saw a stop and or not stop and go, a drive-through for Crozen. That's an ACC penalty, not a Stewart penalty. And this is a replay of the,
Oh,
yeah, that's a
yeah,
replay of the Morris Garafulin accident. And, well, I think it kind of speaks for itself.
yeah. You could see the right side tyres getting on the grass there, and just badly judged, I'm afraid.
A mistake is a mistake, and rather unfortunately, you can't do anything but penalize in that situation. It wasn't intentional by any stretch, of course.
Of course.
Nobody barrels it up the inside like
Oh,
that. Oh no! Who was that? That was an AMG. Was that Gratis Caracas? It was! That
oh,
was Caracas!
and he looks like he's lost the rear on the curb. Oh no, he's just lost it.
Oh dear.
Oh, yeah, that must
We
be a
just
tough one to take.
we just said, or I just said, this is on me, Les. I just said how amazing it was that we had drivers that were hooking the grass and not looping it. Caracas did the exact opposite of that. So they must be making it look easier than it actually is, because that was just such a simple little off, one tire off, and the car was gone.
You put the commentator's curse on him, Jesse. You put the commentator's curse on him. But no, yeah, unfortunately, he's just too much power and in a place where there's just not enough grip. And unfortunately, yeah, the back end's come right round.
Well, a unfortunate moment for Caracas, was running as high as second place, but now has massive damage. That will take some repairing, certainly, and that will certainly take them out of the running. One car that's not out of the running is Juna Savalainen. Purple lap, speed juice fastest lap of the race, and is moving through this pack up to P4 after the Caracas accident. Right on the back of Deepers for third here. Not too bad for the driver that it got sent back to at least sixth place on that start.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's good to see. I'm wondering how far up you can go now. I mean, especially with still got the pit stop to go, and yeah, no, it's looking good. It's good stuff.
A lot of racing still to be done. Here is Juna Savalainen, the getting slower every day car. I wish Savalainen would. I wish he would change his team name. I hate that. He says he's getting slower every day, but he's been a championship contender in every single full season he's competed in just about the last year of RCI competition in the pro field, mind you. So I wouldn't say that he's getting slower by any stretch, but now hounding Deepers in the 47 for the third place spot. Macaulay is leading, and by the way, Joe heard us when we said that Savalainen had the quickest lap. Joe Macaulay has retaken the speed juice fastest lap. That's the fastest lap of the race for the 18. 4 seconds over Borgosman, but still not nearly as big of a lead as they would have had 1 week ago.
Just think he's just trying to keep it on the track, and yes, he can pull the lap out when he wants to. Like you said, I think he overheard us. Wasn't too happy with Savalainen having that fastest lap, so he's gone and taken it away from him.
Little bit of anything you can do, I can do better here.
Yeah. Well, we all know he can. It's just a case of will the tyres, will the track, and will the cars in the way let him.
Couple of things to note as we enter the midway point in the race. First of all, a big thank you to our partners that make this race and every race possible. Race Department, AK Informatica, Driver 61, Fanatec, and SimRacing.gp. We'll have more information about those lovely folks after the race today. We'll tell you how you can get 25% off your driver coaching at Driver 61. But for now, keep an eye on Konstantin Soldatov, the 991. They're the leader of the cars that have pitted. Keep in mind that they were in a pack racing sort of back half of the top 10, top 15 area. We'll see if they are able to convert this into any sort of gain for themselves. And right before the end of the race, just to keep it interesting, it's going to start pouring rain, we've just noticed.
It certainly looks like it's going to change dramatically. Yeah, like you said, towards the end of the race. I wonder if there's going to be, like I said, that span in the works right at the end there.
Well, we talked earlier in qualifying that you and I, we'd prefer a full wet racetrack or a dry racetrack. The intermediate is the most dangerous track, and that's certainly what we have here. As Savalainen is trying to capitalize on a mistake from Deepers, is going to be around the outside, but now will be the inside because they were able to hang it around. This could be converted to P3 for Savalainen, and it will do. Easy as you please. A couple of really nice passes by the 100 AMG, and now P3 on the field. The fastest cars on the racetrack moving up the order.
Good move, and Deepers really had to sort of in the end back out of that one. Make sure he can actually finish the race. But yeah, no, it's good stuff, and it's exciting now because obviously he really is setting the pace, and I wonder if he can catch Macaulay.
Only time will tell. Les, if anything happens, racetrack, please do interrupt. I'm about to go on a long-winded sort of steward affair. Tom Bryant's been handing me slips of paper. I have not been reading them. I am about to do just that. Racing incident between the 46 and the 6. Racing incident between the 11, the 966, and the 329. Racing incident between the 991, the 171, and the 141. Warning for car 100 for tapping the 42. Racing incident between the 911, the 197, the 82, and the 329. Racing incident between the 991 and the 330. Racing incident between the 223 and the 183. No further action between the 98 and the 16. Racing incident between the 6 and the 183. Racing incident between the 46 and the 10. Warning for car 10 for overtaking with excessive contact. Racing incident between the 98 and the 16. Racing incident between the 329 and the 82. Warning for car 82 for an overtake with contact. Position was given back. That's an interesting penalty or a warning because they would have likely have given a 5-second penalty or some variety to that had the position not given back, because it was downgraded to just a warning. Racing incident between the 16 and the 98. Racing incident between the 16 and the 6. A lot of minor inconveniences, only the 2 penalties. Sounds like good hard racing to me.
It's great to hear. I mean, it obviously sounds like there's a lot of penalties, but actually, in the grand scheme of things, with the conditions as well, it's been good clean racing really in the grand scheme of things.
They've given out 2 actual penalties and 2, maybe 3 warnings. Like I said, I can only count to 5, and I can do that on a good day. Only a handful, and like you said, realistically, for the conditions and the sheer amount of cars, 30 plus cars took the green flag here today in these conditions. That's a win.
That is a massive win, and Deepers and Bogosman have now pitted, and they are in front of the of Solatov. So, but it was a good strategy from Solatov, but it hasn't quite worked out.
Well, do keep in mind, Borgosman was running second, so it makes sense that they are out in front of the cars that have pitted. And we'll see if that works out for Borgosman. They're about 4.5 seconds off of Joe McCauley, who I have to see. I was just going to say he'll probably pit in the middle of the race, but will he? I don't know.
We've got what looks like more rain in the next 10 minutes. And then obviously looking even more towards the end of the race. So, Jesse,
oh, crash. We sure do. This is Brian Scheckerman. Oh, just loses it. Opposite locks. Major contact. 2 cars splitting the racetrack. And they're able to rejoin without further incident, but a scary moment there. Brian Scheckerman lost it, overcorrected right into the path of another car. It looked like a McLaren, and huge contact.
Such a shame for the car following, to come across an incident like that. There's nothing you can do to get out of the way of that, and unfortunately the T-bone happens.
These 2 cars are getting very chummy together. Look at this. Fabio Calandrino not really leaving space around the inside, says there's only grass out there, sunshine.
Yes, and luckily there was no actual contact by the looks of things, but still going at it by the looks of it.
Oh, hey, these 2 need to get a room. Contact there, I would call that somewhat significant, but hey, They're racing really hard for that position.
Yeah, they are, and fair play. They're still going at it now, and it looks like it's going to be a battle that will continue.
Certainly does. Robin Baugh up inside the top 5 again on the back of Peter Vicious for 4th place. As Daniele Giacomelli just got a drive-through penalty. I'll check to see what that. And that is a Stewart drive-through penalty. Drive-through penalty for car 6 for forcing the 16 off track, causing a spin. Here it is. Or maybe it's not. Or maybe it's not. But either way, the steward's confirming that the 6 forced the 16 off track and caused the spin. So drive through. Is this the droid we're looking for? Yes, it is. Expertly caught.
Avoided also. And well avoided, yeah. No, it's unfortunate.
Close. Well, Giacomelli with a drive-through penalty for forcing a car off track, leading to a spin. I know sometimes those calls are controversial to the drivers of, hey, I didn't make him spin. I didn't put him out there, but well, rules are the rules, I suppose, in case. The 330 now inside the top 10 still. What they've been trying to do for 30 minutes now. Trying to get in front of Calandrino. Still haven't managed to do it. But you got to admire the patience here required.
You've got to have it, otherwise it's bad things can happen, as they say. But I'm just watching the Gosman, and he's starting to pull away from Deepers, and he's already got past Smeets, I see, and he's looking good for the Gosman.
Sure does. Sean Stridham. Barzaghi now. Barzaghi will recognize Stridham as a new challenger, one that they're unfamiliar with here. Did Barzaghi have a slow pit stop? I'm forced to believe they did.
I've not seen that one myself. I noticed he was in the pits, but unfortunately didn't notice if it was a slow or a decent pit stop. Unless, of course,
So
they took tyres.
Well, that's an interesting point, Les, because it's a mandatory 25-second stop. 5 more seconds get you a fresh set of Pirellis. And I suspect that extra 5 seconds that Barzaghi spent in the pit lane was to take tires. I think Barzaghi took tires on his stop. Either that or he messed up his pit stop. But I'm more than likely willing to believe that that was a tire stop for the number 10. That's why they're where they are. Ah, so that makes sense. That was Barzaghi making a pass on Stridham. So Stridham was in front of the number 10, and now the positions are reversed. So Dario moving the right way. Who knows? Fresh rubber, downpour at the end of the race. Might be a good call.
It might well be a good course, like you say, especially with the heavier rain expected, and it's looking like I'm just wondering
Oh!
if on the curb again, on the curb.
Martin Lawrence down the inside of Johnson's here, and this almost ended in tears into Druids. Synchronized spin. They both catch it, and the McLaren just about getting away with it. That's Thomas Jack, who's making their way back through the top half of the field.
Closing the door in conditions like this is always a risky move, and yeah, it looks like obviously there was contact, and yeah, like you said, we had a bit of synchronized sliding.
I will tell you, Thomas Jack says, I'll make it.
Free couple of places, lovely.
You not only gave me a spot, but you caught me up to the guy I was racing. Excellent. Very thoughtful.
Yeah, well, you take it either way, though, don't you? You take it.
I would rather, I think we all would as drivers, we would all rather race you for it, but if you're going to give it to us, I mean, we're not going to say it.
And I was just wondering, I'm just looking back through the order again, and I'm just, I don't know if I said it already, but I'm wondering if Deepers has actually taken tyres. look at the timings, and I think it's the right move myself. I think with this heavier rain expected, I think personally it's something that I would have gone for. Those extra 5 seconds definitely worth it.
At this juncture, I'm forced to believe that tires was the right move. We've seen an interesting mix of the strategy since using the 25-second pit rule, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And the most interesting part is I can't make heads or tails on when it's the right strategy and when it's not. And judging by the eclectic mix of cars and teams that try it on and off, I don't reckon they know either, because it's just trying something that makes sense and hoping it works. We've seen cars that had tires catch up to the leader at the end of the race. We've seen them never recover. We've seen no tires, minimum fuel be the strat and just sit there versus taking a lot of fuel. It really has jumbled up the strategies. Jonas Savalainen pits out of second place. Very curious where he's going to return in the running order. Will he get to keep second? Will he be knocked back to third where he was prior to the stop?
And we've just got to watch where Bogosman comes around when he's on the exit of the pits. But I'm wondering if I just wonder if he's done enough to stay in front. This is probably a time when I would say taking tyres might be worth not taking tyres to take that risk of try and get track position.
I think if you came in about 10 minutes ago, taking tires, probably the right strat. I agree with you. Now, in the final 23-ish minutes, probably not the right strategy. Track position, more important here. Savalainen out of the pit lane, and that's Morgan McCall who's got back by him. So that position lost. Deepers, though, who we also suspect took tires on their pit stop, is behind this group. So it's McCall, Savalainen, and then Deepers. This is for 5th place now. Oh, car heavy into the wall. Well, this is not the car that was in the wall. This is Joe McCauley, but we saw a green car hard into the wall there.
Yeah, I didn't catch who it was, but yeah, it did look like it was a very hard hit there.
That car has retired. The reason we couldn't bring that to you is because that car has retired immediately. So unable to figure out who that was. That wouldn't have been the 118, would it?
Right, I didn't catch it.
Yes, the 118 had issues early. Got into a couple of cars in Druids, had to stop, go 10, and now has had a crash on their own, or at least it appeared like it was a crash on their own. We cannot confirm that, but they have retired that car now.
Yeah, and we got Savalainen there trying his darn hardest to get past McCall. McCall putting up a good fight here as well, and Deeper's not too far back either.
Joe McCauley can confirm took tires on the number 18 Porsche, and 2 cars still yet to pit. Borgosman has also taken tires as well. Or excuse me, he didn't. Borgosman did not take tires, and that's the difference of the gap. It was about 4.5, 5 seconds. 5 extra seconds for tires. Makes sense to me, nose to tail.
Wow, looks like it's Joe's gone for the tyres for the length of the race, and just wondering if it's maybe a little bit late to be taking tyres, but made the call, and let's see if he can keep that lead.
Could you argue he made the McCauley?
Anyway, moving on. Yes, looking like the weather's going to be. Yes, no, yeah, well, he could have made. Oh, going to go for a pass here. No, so Simon getting close to the back of McCall there, but no. Yeah, I think McCauley made a wise decision, really. I mean, 20 minutes to go, looking like it's going to be heavier rain any minute now, really. I think new tyres is definitely the way to go.
I think if you're Joe, you had so very little to gain from not taking tires and everything to gain from taking them. It made perfect sense for me For anybody else in the pack, I think 20 minutes to go was a little bit too late. But for Joe, who had a bit of a gap, use that gap. It's basically free real estate. And of course, we also have Brian Scheckerman in chat saying, lost it on the exit and became a passenger. Race incident for Brian Scheckerman. Better luck next week, Brian. It was a tough one for you out there today. But then again, a race like this is always tough in these.
Um, it's you got to take your hats off to everyone tonight. It's been a great show so far, and it's looking like it's going to be a good finish. But to race any car in these conditions is difficult. But these GT3s around this track as well is it's not a great combo with this weather.
Basaglio down in 12th place with the 120 Bentley behind him, who has Calandrito behind him and Barzaghi behind him. Barzaghi is just in the middle of a fight. It pitted when they did to try and get out of the fight. They find themselves right back in it, in the middle of this pack. It's not gone to plan. Dario Barzaghi, that is for sure.
We got Joe's net first at the moment, but I'm just wondering how long the number 330 is going to be out in the lead there before he decides to come in the pits. Is he going to be the last lap wonder, or is he going to take it soon?
Well, Cielinska still has to pit in the 330 Porsche, but once that happens, of course, we do expect that to happen. And contact here, Thomas Jack in the 95 of Sam Smeets it was. Oh dear, I have no idea how that happened. I mean, I know what happened, I just don't know how it happened.
Yeah, it was a bit more than just a bit of rubbing, I'm just wondering if there's going to be a penalty that comes from that.
Let's take another look at this. Beats on the inside, Jack on the outside. Just look like, listen, I'm not a steward, I'm not signing blame, but to me it just looked like Smeets moved over a bit. Maybe it was mutual, maybe they moved in together. I don't know, but a very bizarre act. You don't usually see that.
No,
kind of
two cars into that one corner in these conditions is never really going to end well. But yeah, let's see what happens, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a penalty there.
330 in the pit lane, hands the lead back over to Joe McCauley, and these cars will streak through, and that will give Morgan McCall the 540 third place. Savalainen, 2 AMGs fighting over the last podium spot. Gozman has lost 3 seconds to Joe McCauley. Those new tires, absolute money here in the late race.
We were on at the start about how he wasn't able to pull a big gap to begin with, but already what's this, 3-4 laps on, and already going out nearly a 4-second lead.
Jonas Savalainen is not alone here. Savalainen is actually the hot dog in the bun. That is Deepers in behind in the 47. These cars that were all together, albeit in a different order, are back together again as Morgan McCall takes a trip to the grass. We saw that be deadly to some of the other competitors today, but not to Morgan McCall, who uses it to his advantage, running out the corner a little bit there.
Hope you don't put the commentator's cursing him there, Jesse, but yeah, no, he's trying to use every single square inch of the track, and it's working for him at the moment. He's going to have to be the widest AMG on the planet, I think, to keep Savalainen behind.
Oh, Justice, who had just pitted. Oh my goodness, slow out of the corner and just gets turned.
Well, the back end coming around also in the corner and then got turned, I think, and again, probably cold tyres on the exit of the pits there, probably. I think that's the second lap, I think he started after coming out of the pits.
Was there more to this? Oh, this was just a pass here. But yeah, Robin Baugh able to get around the 38 That's the reverse of how it had been to this point. So excellent job by Robin Baugh.
Yeah, great maneuver, and but yeah, and it's around the final corner there in these conditions. That was great driving, great driving.
Had that backwards, by the way. I meant to say great pass by Jutna Vicious on Robin Baugh. Said that backwards. Said that backwards in my head. Said it backwards out loud. Jutna Savalainen is not going backwards. He's going forward. Look at this heated battle here. Every road is closed for Savalainen as Morgan McCall found a way to not only save his race car, but make it 3 lanes wide.
Your wide vision and your muscle memory to remember where these braking points are, because sat right behind a car like this in these conditions is difficult enough as it is, but with, like I said, with the rain, it's just makes it a bit tricky. Here we go for a move, hopefully around the turn 1.
On the outside of Paddock Hill, nothing doing there. Could it be a run up into Druids? No. Looks around the outside, tries to get as close as you like. Has to back off a little bit. Morgan McCall holding steadfast. I said this last season at Imola about Morgan McCall. I'll say it again. There's a few cars I wouldn't want to have to pass. Morgan's absolutely one of them. Knows how to defend. Fabio Calandrino trying to make a little progress here.
Baggy looks like he's struggling here. I'm wondering if does it look like the rain's got a bit heavier to you, Jesse?
Oh, it 100% has, Les. The rain is coming down harder. Oh, it's going to be contact here. 2 cars involved. 3 cars, 4 cars making contact as we're playing Plinko into Druids. And how did that all start?
Stemmed from the Porsche, I think, getting on the grass, trying to get out of the way, but it looks for a slow exit. Oh, and then, yeah,
Fabio just sent it there. Miscalculation. Massive contact with several cars.
And that's going to be some damage there. Here we go for an overtaking maneuver from Savalainen by the looks of it for 3rd place.
Certainly going to try to go around the outside. Morgan's going to want to keep this as tight as possible to keep Savalainen behind, and he does. A nice tidy line. Now looking down to the inside. Savalainen looking to make the move into 1, but look behind him. Deeper's not willing to sit there. Thinks about going around the outside of Paddock Hill. Doesn't have it. Nothing doing there as they all end up line astern again. But it's definitely looking like, look at Savalainen go wide. He wants to be on the inside. He knows if he can get a fender in on Morgan, he can make it happen right here in Graham Hill Bend, but he can't do it. And all that does is throw him back into the clutches of Deepers now. But even still, they're all still single file. Ooh, close into pit wall right there with these 2.
This is great racing towards the end of the race here, isn't it? It's so close. I mean, with 12 minutes to go and they're still battling hard. And but yeah, that was some nice close racing. It's just, I think he's listening to you on his little radio, maybe, Jesse, and he's trying to hit a lot more curbs.
It certainly feels like a lot of these cars can take more curbs than they had been doing, which you wouldn't blame them for not using the curbs. ACC, it's absolutely miserable on the curbs most of the time, but today, for whatever reason, it's not the biggest deal. Judah Savalainen, though, may lose this position as he runs wide. He's going to be side by side with Deepers, but I reckon Deepers has the position. What did we say? Make a mistake, you're going to lose spots, and that's exactly what it looks like is going to happen to Savalainen, trying to hang tough, but I'm afraid it's a losing effort. Deepers up to 4th now.
If he got on the grass, it certainly looked like he was slow out of the middle sectors there, and he's getting on the gravel. That's definitely more than 10 now, Jesse.
Yeah, Les, I gotta give it to you. I think you won this one by a fair few margin. I will say, I ended up with 14 right now, 14 contacts. That last little one into Druids was 3 by itself. I'm declaring you the winner.
Okay, thank you. I'll take it. I'll take any win nowadays.
Savalainen looking for a win on Deepers is trying to get that 4th place back, and that might be a tall task. All this is going to do is help Morgan McCall hopefully scamper away in front. In fact, he already has 2 seconds in the lead of Deepers, and Savalainen is 3rd place, Morgan McCall.
The whole time we've been fixated on... Oh! Oh, well saved, well held. Yeah, I'm just saying with all the they definitely listen to you, Jesse. They're gaining more curbs with this more rain. It's definitely. I don't know why they're trying so much curbs, but I suppose they're just trying everything they can to be ahead.
Was that Deepers off on the inside there, or was that just forced perspective from Savalainen's car? We right on board with Savalainen, the 47 of Deepers in front. The battle for fourth place on. 11 seconds the lead Macaulay has on Borgosman. McCall now trying to scamper away in third. Side by side into Paddock Hill. Deepers wins that on the inside. Defensive line by Deepers, taking a nice cut through Druids.
Yeah, and he's getting a
And
good
now
exit out there as well. Look.
he absolutely is a brilliant line, and that will all but end that battle for another half a lap or so. Zook in the 120. Soglio in the 46. It's for 11th place.
Yeah, it's all happening pretty much everywhere around the track now with these heavier rain conditions. I think it's starting to slow a few people down, maybe speed some people up, and it's all starting to get very close.
RCI races, I don't know what it is about them, but they always seem to come back together in the end, and you get races like this. Thomas Jack has had a day that he will likely tell his grandkids about, one of the toughest days of racing, but still in it is the 16. Fabio Calandrino here trying to go around the outside. Does it end well? Of course it doesn't. A couple of cars off. Oh my goodness! I didn't even realize there was a bump there.
Like he went for a lift off there. It's yeah, it was a awful coming together as well. And like you said, you know, it was never going to come out clean after all of that.
Oh, just got shoved off the racetrack.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
nearly went end over end. Contact with the wall, contact with the car. And that will frustrate that driver.
And all the time we've been fixated on the rest of the track, and Macaulay's pulling away a big lead in about 13 seconds in front now.
One more time, the replay of the incident into Druids, the ping pong effect, and that was effectively what won the cars in the wall bet for you. Les Victor Borland here has went around on his own accord.
Yeah, and thankfully a safe rejoin as well. Always a bit of a
Graham
worry when you
Hill,
come around. Oh, sorry, go on, Jesse.
I was just going to say, Graham Hill Bend has not been a hot corner that it normally is. It's been relatively calm. I think that's the only incident today.
Certainly seems like, and yeah, like you say, normally it's normally the one that attracts all the attention of for the stewards normally, but yeah, no, it's been pretty good there today.
Well, Jonas Savalainen having to regroup. P5 right now. I believe that's where he qualified, looking to improve here. Got an uphill task, sometimes quite literally. Dario Barzagli runs off the track. That's going to give a run. Thomas Jack down the inside. It's a good defense on the outside by Barzagli, and that will be all it takes to save that position. But oh no, off into the grass. A move made by Jack to get out of the way, thinking the car was going to spin. It doesn't, but position gained by Jack.
Fortunately for Barzagli there, just getting onto the grass was never going to be an easy one off of that corner at that line, and unfortunately loses the position.
Joshua Allen, the Team Wallace Esports driver in the 223. Haven't talked much about this driver all day, but look at them. Up inside the top 10, looking at Robin Baugh for 7th now.
Yeah, like you say, no, a name that's not really been mentioned at all, and yeah, he sneaked up in there into the top 10 now, and fighting for that P7.
Looks like they've got the most grip of the two of them. I take that back.
We didn't hear that one, Jesse. Don't worry.
Oh boy. I've been wrong a few times in my career, and that was certainly one of them.
Yeah, the camera angle didn't help either, I don't think. But yeah, he just slightly got on that grass there.
Felix Deepers now finds himself back on the defensive end of Ajuna Savalainen, who continues to try and make this pass reality. Deepers has caught Morgan. Remember, that gap was 2.2 seconds. Now it's only 1.2 seconds. So despite this, Deepers has caught Morgan McCall for third place most of the way. Does need to get a move on if he wants to make a pass here. Just about a second as the trio, I think, unless my math is very much wrong, and it often is, I think they'll all be back together on the last lap of this race.
Looking like Deepers is really sort of in the first sector, closing a lot of the time, and yeah, it's amazing really fighting with Savalainen. He's still able to close the gap to the Calder.
Close racing, Savalainen, cool as a cucumber most of the time. Rarely makes big mistakes and might have forced one on Felix Deepers here.
He can keep it on the S, and he has, and great move around the outside there, and it looks like he's got the move done before into the last corner.
Well, that changes everything. Savalainen back through to P4. Is there enough time for him to catch and pass Morgan McCall? Catch him? I would say absolutely. Pass him? Well, that's a completely different.
It's for the podium. It's that bit more hungry for it. Who knows? Let's see what happens. But yeah, like you said, one to catch him, but another to pass.
That battle sorted for the moment. I will try to catch up on a few of the late race penalties. A warning for car 911 for not holding brakes after a crash. Warning for car 141 for what is deemed inappropriate inputs. No, not lifting or braking when there's a car losing control in front of them, causing avoidable contact. It actually happened. That actually just happened. But warning for car 12 for excessive weaving. You don't see that every day. Warning for car 171 for dive bombing the 330. A warning for car 171 for not holding brakes and causing contact with the 16. That was up to a 5-second penalty because that was the second warning car 171 had received. Drive-through penalty for car 95 for forcing the 16 off the track. Drive-through penalty for car 98 for taking out the 171. And a 5-second penalty for car 799 for dive bombing, causing contact with the 95.
It was inevitable with the extra rain that was on its way that we were going to get a few more incidents, but there's quite a lot to read out there, Jesse.
Woo-hoo! Quite a lot going on right here as Jack's not had the greatest race. I'm pretty sure Thomas would admit that to you as well, but making up for it here in the late going.
He's had a very eventful race, but yeah, like you said, really making up for it now, and hopefully he can get himself a bit further up. And with Lawrence with the time penalty there, I wonder if he can just gain a few more tenths, and he might be able to clinch 15th there.
Hold on a minute. Did Jordan Daly, didn't he start next to last?
Certainly did.
He's 17th.
He's done well, hasn't he? He's done well. The boy's done well, and yeah, he's obviously a good strategy, and kept it clean. But I mean, we've not really seen much of Daly going around, so there obviously hasn't been many incidences.
It's incredible progress from the 197 who started near the back, and like you said, the Bentley struggling in the rain around this racetrack, the highest one we have. I believe that's Konstantin Soldatov in the 991 in their 9th place. So to make that sort of progress halfway through the field, basically, is the 197. You got Martin Lawrence, who just got a 5-second penalty, we said earlier, and I think, no, they should be safe to Jack, unless Jack is able to close that gap by a few tenths, which I suppose is very possible. But here is the fight. There was no fight for the lead. Joe McCauley well and truly out front with the Speed Juice fastest lap, looking to have a second consecutive perfect week in a row 15 seconds behind him, Borgosman. And behind them, Morgan McCall. Oh, Dario Barzaghi's lost it.
Real shame.
Right, man, leader is on the final
I
lap.
don't know
Give
if
it
it
away,
was
Joe.
contact or whether he just lost it by himself. But yeah, that's a real shame. Such late on in the race as well.
This is the man, the myth, the legend, Joe McCauley. Nobody could beat him in qualifying. Nobody could beat him in the race. I'm not just talking about this week, folks. He had maximum points a week ago. He's going to have maximum points again. The hashtag blame Mike Jones Porsche is going to double up. 2 races, 2 wins for Joe McCauley.
Race for Joe there, great race. You know, like you said, all the 3 purples, as I call it, the fastest lap, the pole position, and the win. But late race drama here with Savalana. It looks like he's got a drive-through.
Late race drama indeed. Borgosman will come across the line. A very clean second place for Borgosman. And Morgan McCall, South Africa's favorite driver, the ATK driver. Third place today. A brilliant race by him. Savalainen got a drive through for track limits. That's an ACC assigned penalty that had nothing to do with stewarding. And that not only, he was trying so hard to get by Morgan, and it's going to cost him more than just third place here.
So that's a real shame, and to know it's something you've done yourself, it's even more annoying. But yeah, it's a shame. It must have been was out on the last lap, Jesse.
It sure was. Coming to the checkered flag as well as only had a handful of turns to go. Again, was trying so hard to get to and by Morgan. Well, it's going to be a points hit today for the driver of the 100. Everybody finishing up now. Thomas Jack does get a 16th place. Daly 17th. Yan Climbs coming across the line. The rest of the field. Barzaghi is going to end up 21st according to the scoring pylon. And what a rough race. It didn't start out that way. It was fairly clean the first half of the race, and it all kicked off in the second half. Results of the race confirmed pending, as you might expect, post-race stewarding. Joe McCauley, your winner, no doubt about that. Borgosman second, McCall, your podium finishers. Deepers, Juke Vicious, the top 5. Ba Allen Soldatov, Billin, and Savalainen, your top 5. Wouter Billin snuck in the top 10 there at the end. Well done. What a crazy race. And of course, the big things that, as we scroll through, that strike me are the drivers near the back. Gratis Caracas, who was in the mix early, Crozen, Max Payne, just to name a few.
Yeah, and it looks like Jack did get 15th there from Lawrence with the time penalty. He got close enough within the back of Lawrence there. So yeah, well done to them too.
Well, what a crazy race it was in the rain. And next week, we'll be right back here with you. Les, you coming back?
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. And what a race that was with those crazy conditions towards the end there, and it really spiced things up. So no, great race to see, and congratulations to Joe.
Joe, absolutely deserving winner today. Well, like I said, I guess if Les wants to come back, I'm assuming Stewie will be here, which means I'll be here, which means we'll be at Suzuka in 1 week's time. Race number 3, round 3 of the Friday GT Sprint Championship in its 5th season. Suzuka, hopefully a bit drier, always an action packed track, and for some reason in qualifying, always very close on the timing. We'll join you for that. Of course, Night Owl starts up a brand new season. Season 9 starts tomorrow night. If you're up late, get your jammies on, pop some popcorn. It's going to be myself, Ted Edwards, and Stewie on that call for a brand new Night Owl. And folks, you've not seen Night Owl like you've seen it with Ted, myself, and Stewie. Stewie's basically our babysitter at that point. The Monday Asia Masters Championship continues on Monday as well, the series finale of that championship. And we will see, unknown if the Wednesday and Thursday championships will run, but we will keep you posted. Still, a lot of stuff to keep in mind, a lot of stuff to watch, like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things so that you don't miss a single race. A big thank you to our partners that make this race and every race possible. Race Department, racedepartment.com, your source of sim racing news and information. AK Informatica for providing our server solutions. Driver 61, you can get 25% off your driver coaching at driver61.com by using our discount code. The link is in the description. Driver coaching can make you a better racing driver. Fanatec.com, our affiliate link is free to use. We appreciate it if you use that when making purchases on quality Fanatec sim racing products. And if you don't get enough RCI racing, why not join simracing.gp? Join a community, get racing today. Joining simracing.gp completely free. Well, Les, what a race we saw today. A tale of two halves, some comers and goers as you would expect in the rain, and hopefully at Suzuka, a very dry race, but also a very fast paced race.
Yeah, like you said, great race today, and looking forward to next week already. And one of my favourite tracks, Suzuka. There, one of the oldest tracks, and yeah, great fast sweeping track. Be great to see the action there. Like you said, hopefully bit drier weather conditions, and we might even still see just as good a race.
Well, folks, on behalf of the broadcast team, the stewards, and the entire staff here at RCI, we thank you for watching today's broadcast. We'll see you next week. And until then, have a good night.